Hi, welcome back to our podcast, Scream Girls.
Yes, the second episode.
In which we watch scary movies and talk about them and make ourselves laugh into the microphone a lot. My name is Caitlin McKenzie.
My name is Callie Goff.
We're very excited to be back today to talk about The Ritual.
A Netflix film?
I could not tell if it was a Netflix orig. It did have the little Netflix logo up in the top, but it's a British film that I believe was released last year in the UK.
I noticed it said a Netflix film, which was different from a Netflix original, I assume.
Yeah, a co-pro perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
So if you have not watched The Ritual, which you probably haven't unless, I don't know why you would.
I mean, it's only been out for like a month, maybe?
Yeah.
It's on the flicks anyway.
Well, if you haven't watched it, maybe pause.
Give it a pause.
Give it a watch, and then come back to us.
Yeah,
we'll be here.
There'll be a lot of spoilers ahead.
Yeah, spoilers to come.
Not shying
big time.
away.
What else is going on, Caitlin?
I was just about to ask you the same thing. Not too much. I've just been editing our previous ep, learning the ways of how to edit a podcast.
Oh, good.
You know, it's pretty.
I'm glad one of us is doing it.
pretty slipshod. So be patient. We're learning.
Great.
But yeah.
Did you watch anything else good this week?
Oh gosh, no.
Oh, I'm watching something.
Oh, go ahead. What did you watch?
The antidote to scary movies.
What is it?
So this is perfect for you, actually, because when you get scared and you need something friendly,
need a palate cleanser.
Unlike me, when I watch The Ring and fall asleep during Samara's crawling out of the TV, you should watch what's it called? The Great British Families Cook-Off.
The Great British Bake Off?
No, it is not The Great British Bake Off. It is a spin-off of The Great British Bake Off.
Oh my god.
Called British Family Cook-Off.
That is what it's called?
No, but you get the gist.
All right.
And it's also on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's soothing.
I've never watched the source material. I've never watched The Great British Bake Off.
You don't need to.
I won't have to catch up.
No, you don't need to catch up. But it's just basically like an ASMR video. It's very soothing. I've seen the first 10 minutes of every episode so far, and then I fall asleep.
All right. Well, that sounds like what I need, because what I have been watching is a lot of Golden Girls. All available on
that's
Hulu.
Good too.
If you have not watched The Golden Girls in your life, or if you have not watched it recently, I want to implore you to sign up for that free 1-month Hulu trial, or just bite the bullet and pay for the damn thing, because it is worth it to rewatch The Golden Girls alone. It is truly a flawless show.
I used to. That was my go-to post-scary movie show. Like, I would watch a scary movie. I would freak myself out. I wouldn't be able to walk past my fireplace because I was scared that birds were going to fly out of it. And I would watch The Golden Girls.
It's empowering. It's not just fluff. It's deeply empowering. They're hitting the hard issues.
They covered a lot of topics.
The tough issues, very progressive. Just makes my heart happy every day.
Who's your favorite gal?
Oh, definitely Dorothy.
Yeah.
Without question. Although I go back and forth on whether I like Sophia or Blanche the most as my second.
I have a soft spot for Sophia.
She makes me think of my own grandmother, who is nothing like her personality-wise, but, is still a wise
I always also
woman.
Deeply related to Rose.
Yeah.
She also would not have understood the ring.
I fear... That is correct.
Yeah.
Rose is, she's a little one note for me at times, but she's got a good heart.
So am I, Caitlin. So am I.
I'll never tire of you, Callie. Should we talk about this movie?
We should talk about this movie because I took Caitlin McKenzie style notes for this movie.
Yeah,
I took like 10 pages of notes.
The tables have turned, folks. I mean, I also took many notes. We both had to stop the movie multiple times while taking notes because we were missing things and because we had.
I also have trouble hearing / comprehension problems, so I watch everything with subtitles.
I did as well.
So I was also reading the subtitles, taking notes, pausing.
This is a British film. The actors are all super British, which, Callie, you have quite a bit of experience deciphering British accents.
Yeah, my boyfriend's British.
But I had less, and I needed some help. So the subtitles came on, and they were very useful. And I was very happy for them. Shall we go in beat by beat?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I think this is probably just like a Netflix formula thing, but I was recommended 5 stars.
I was too. I was as well. So Netflix expected us to love this movie.
Yeah.
Which I found heartening.
I also was grateful that it was an hour and 34 minutes.
Perfect time.
Again, if you haven't watched, take 94 minutes. Yeah. Go watch.
It is worth it. You don't have to stop and start it a million times because you don't have to take notes. We did that for you.
You don't have to take copious notes. And it also had an awesome Netflix description, which now I cannot remember, but...
I can read it for you. Would you like me to?
Read it.
Hold on one second. I pulled it up for you. Okay. 4 friends with a long-standing but strained connection take a hiking trip into the Swedish wilderness from which they may never return.
Dun, dun, dun.
Short and sweet and to the point.
I always love a freaking Netflix description. Kaitlin and I are copywriters, and I feel like I aim to make every blurb as succinct as a Netflix description.
It's a good rule of thumb. I think I'm going to start using that as a guide because that is really that's all you need to know about the synopsis. Also, that's the heart of the tale.
I want that job.
I would love to know. We'll look into it.
Netflix,
everyone. We'll keep you
updated. We're available.
We're available. Okay.
Great. Oh, so, also Sweden. Yeah. My family is Swedish.
Mine as well. Sort of. Yes, we returned to the land of our ancestors in this film.
So I was immediately intrigued.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into this, but I have never thought of Sweden as a particularly frightening place. Perhaps the Swedish chef was playing, that's obviously a stereotype. Perhaps that was playing into my thoughts a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was not expecting to be as terrified by Sweden as I was.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. So we begin not in Sweden, but in Great Britain.
Yes, at a pub.
At a pub. We meet a group of 5 college friends. They're now in their late 30s to early 40s. Yeah. And they're trying to plan a lad's holiday, they call it.
They're like the annual trip.
Right. Do we want to go through who these men are? Do we want to lay out the characters? Because there are a lot of gentlemen.
I'm not sure if I could.
Age. I think I could. I made sure. I diagrammed. Let's just go through really quick.
Okay.
So our point of view character, a guy named Luke. Just a blonde white man who is
attractive.
All of them are pretty attractive. I'm going to say I was not upset to be looking at any of them. Luke, kind of the fuck up of the group, kind of in a state of arrested development. He's kind of a dick. Everybody's throwing out beautiful vacation ideas and he's like, I don't want to go there. Yeah. So we have Luke over here, our point of view character. Hutch, he's sort of the... he's a good looking guy.
This is how much I took away.
No, I wrote that too. I wrote hot leader.
You have these beautiful descriptions. I'm like hot or sexy. Yeah.
I wrote a lot of things about how hot they are, which we'll get to that in one moment. But Hutch, very sexy. He's sort of the leader of the group. Then we have Dom, who's like a little bit pudgier. He's got glasses. He's kind of the nerd.
He's like if it was Lord of the Flies, he'd be Piggy.
Yeah.
What's that boy's
His name is Piggy. Well, I think his real name is something else, but his nickname is Piggy.
Yeah, there's always one in every group. I mean, usually it's me. He's the duff.
He's not bad looking, though, or anything. He's just a little bit. He's the least sort of masculine and game as the rest of them. Then we have Phil, who I fell deeply in love with on site. Loved him.
I bet you did, Kate.
I identified with him so deeply throughout the film, which we'll get into. I really felt like I would be the Phil of any group.
See,
in this situation.
Thought Phil didn't have enough to do.
And that is part of why I loved him too. I felt that he needed to be elevated. There's one more, and it's Robert, and he's got like a northern or Scottish accent. It's his idea to go to this Appalachian Trail. It's not an Appalachian Trail because it's in Sweden. To go to this mountain trail.
The Appalachian Trail. That was my Swedish accent.
He wants to challenge himself, but all the guys are kind of like, no, I don't want to do that.
Fucking hiking in Sweden, which would be my reaction to
mine as well, which is why we are closer to Phil.
Yeah. I have to say, though, I felt like from the beginning, the dialogue felt real to me. It felt like mumblecore a little bit. Like it had sort of that naturalistic thing going. And then also, there's a moment where I think it's Robert to Luke or something is saying, it's like it's getting harder to have fun together. And it just felt so true to the experience of growing up and growing apart from friends and going different paths.
Yeah, because all these guys are still sort of giving each other shit. They clearly are very close, but many of them have grown up and had families and wives and children, and some of them are still sort of wanting to party and have fun. So what happens next? We leave the bar, and an important thing happens.
Damn. Did I say damn, diggity, damn?
You certainly can.
Was cray, I thought. First of all, I love when scary movies start like this.
Where they're not scary at first?
No, the freaking... Are we talking about when they go into the liquor store? Yes. I don't know what to compare it to. Oh, I do, of course. This movie had so many similarities to The Descent. The Descent also starts with an event that basically doesn't take place where the main thrust of the story takes place. It sort of starts with some catalyst or some action that then kind of follows through to the rest of the story, but it doesn't all take place there. It takes place in a second location. Right. So anyway, I thought this scene was so scary.
Yeah,
From the second they turned around and saw that woman sitting behind the register and she's bloodied and...
So let's go back for 1 second, just take it in. So they go into this liquor store and it's because Luke, who's kind of the fuck up, doesn't want the night to end. He wants to go get a bottle of liquor. He convinces his friend Robert, the northern Scottish gentleman, to go with him. And they're talking about how Robert really wants to challenge himself and go on this trail. They're standing in this flickering fucking store and those flickering fluorescent lights. I was like, this is not good. You get out of there with those flickering lights. And then, as Callie mentioned,
they turn. There's this woman behind the register. It was just it was uncertain what was happening. And then they realized they have walked into the middle of a robbery. The store is being robbed. And
by some junkies, by some frightening junkies. And it's very scary.
And they come up to Robert, and meanwhile Luke kind of slinks away and hides behind one of the shelving units, and they take Robert's shit, and then they ask him for his wedding ring, and he won't take it off, and they hit him in the face with a machete.
Yeah, it's brutal.
And even just the junkies yelling to each other, it was so scary, and I don't know, it was just really a holy shit.
Well, it felt so chaotic, right? Yeah. It was like they're not villains who are in control of the situation, so it felt, even as a viewer, really unpredictable. And it felt very real because I'm not particularly frightened of a Japanese demon coming to get me in the night, but I am scared of walking into the middle of a liquor store robbery with some crazy junkies.
Also, just like the blow to the face was so unexpected. The second blow that took him down onto the ground, so scary. And also... beautiful character development and a way to set up this whole story because Luke hides and he doesn't intervene and it's going to come back to haunt them.
And his friend dies. Can I just take a moment to say, if someone asks you in a robbery situation for your wedding ring, please give it to them. Yeah. I don't want to victim blame, but your spouse would rather have you back home than your dead hand with a wedding ring on it. Just...
Sounds like victim blaming.
PSA. No, it's just, please, give him your damn wedding ring. Anyway, so yes, beautiful character development. Luke is now tortured by the guilt over not having stepped in to help his friends. I think he feels pretty bad about it. No?
I don't know.
Well, we'll get into it.
But then it jumps ahead. So we're 6 months later.
And they're in the mountains.
And I don't know about you, but I wasn't sure at first if he was dead.
Oh,
I thought, is he going to be the last to emerge from his tent? And then I was very sad because I liked him the best.
Well, he'd had that Scottish Northern. I don't know. I'm not a British dialect expert, but yeah, his voice was definitely the nicest. Although, as I will say, Phil was instantly my favorite, which we'll continue to discuss. So then...
I did write down this thoughtful note. Had to see him go because he was the hottest.
Oh, really? You know what? I don't fully agree with that.
Well, then I really got into Hutch. But
yeah, I got pretty into Hutch also, although he's not really my type because he's so alpha. But anyway, so the reason they're in the mountains is to pay tribute to poor departed Robert, who wanted to go to the mountains. None of them wanted to go, but they went to put his picture on a mountain and pour one out for him.
Right.
Which is a very
big
sad...
one. He pours for ages.
Yeah, he does. It almost got into the territory of being like a little bit funny to me.
A little funny, yeah.
But because Bill turns and looks at him.
Yeah.
I was like, is it on his shoe or something?
I thought they did it actually a really good... I thought there was a really good balance of like scary and funny in this.
Yeah.
I don't like movies that are pure horror.
No.
There's got to be a little comedy.
It was really funny at first. The guys sort of just bantering back and forth and like bitching about having to climb the mountain. None of them want to be climbing the mountain, you know. They're all sad about the loss of their friend, and they make an interesting point. They're like, he would have loved this, but we wouldn't have done this if he wasn't dead.
Yeah.
You know, they never would have come.
And also during that little tribute thing, I think it's Dom says it should have never have happened. Mm-hmm. And so you already feel the sort of underlying tensions. Yeah. But you know what? It wasn't Luke's fault.
No, I would have done exactly the same thing.
I mean, what was he? If he had stepped in, he would probably be dead too.
Right. But he feels bad, of course, as you would.
Right.
And then, so they are walking through the mountain. It's annoying. Fucking Dom, which I wrote fucking Dom many times in my notebook. Fucking Dom twists his goddamn knee, his meniscus, and he can't walk very well.
No.
So what do they decide to do instead of continuing on their journey across the beautiful Swedish mountains? They decide to take a fucking shortcut through the fucking woods. Which
Not
is
smart.
Never
guys.
a good idea. Never a good idea. There's always a moment in a horror movie, which is irrational in me, when I think maybe they'll make the right call here and avoid the trouble.
I mean, it would be really funny to see, or like, it would be really interesting to see a horror movie where they make all the right decisions and things just, you know what? You haven't seen it. Put a pin in that.
Okay.
When we watch The Strangers,
okay.
We'll discuss.
Okay, I'm excited about this. This is the first of many poor choices that they make, but they decide to cut through the woods. The first thing they do when they go through was they see an old bus, like a 60s sort of Volkswagen bus that's overgrown with grass.
Yeah.
It's like,
honestly, I've seen that kind of thing in the woods.
It could be worse, but there's just no one around. I mean, I'm not going to be in any wilderness situation with no other humans around.
Yeah, and of course they drop that little thing where they're like, oh, no reception. There's like one line where he's like, oh, no reception. And it's like, oh, no reception. Well, that's going to be a problem.
So they enter the woods.
They're entering the woods. Someone says massive pile of tits. I wrote that down. I don't know what that was in reference to, but I liked it.
Fucking Dom again.
Okay, Dom.
Wishing he was in Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, he would have fallen into a massive pile of tits. Exactly. I liked that.
It's funny. This is about the end of our banter. Around here because...
But I do think their dynamic felt real.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Wait.
What?
Sorry. And I wrote, no big scare since the beginning. Because then all of a sudden there was like a crazy scare.
Yeah, which is that there is a gutted carcass of an animal strung up in a tree.
That's at the point where you're like, turn around.
And that was the other point where I thought, you could just...
Flip a bitch.
You've only lost a couple hours.
Yui.
Yeah, they don't. They keep going.
Strap Dom on your back.
I don't think that if women were in this movie, this would have happened.
No, we would have fashioned some sort of splint for Don and carried him.
Or one of us would have just kept going and
send the strongest.
It really was
stupid.
We wouldn't have had a movie without it, so it's okay. So this happens and they're spooked and they're walking through the woods.
I thought that consistently this movie did a good job of keeping you off kilter because of the way it was shot with the trees. I was always looking for things in between the trees. And also it would be like funny, friendship, banter, carcass in a tree. Yeah. Like it was all...
The whole movie is very disorienting in the way it's shot. Because they're in these trees that are beautiful but also dark and scraggly. There are a lot of scenes that take place by flashlight alone, so you constantly feel like visually you can't really get a handle on what's happening, which can be frustrating, but I think works to the benefit of the movie here.
So then they end up seeing the carvings in the trees, which was like so Blair Witch to me.
Lord, this is a very Blair Witch-ish movie.
It was so Blair Witch. It was so The Descent. I don't know, but is everything just derivative?
Well, I don't know. I mean, being lost in the woods is a very scary situation. Whether or not there's something hunting you, a group of people in a tense situation of being lost is a dramatically fraught situation. I think the forest is the long-standing place of scary shit happening. Yeah, so I guess it's like a trope
because of that. All right. Well, at this point, I wrote Phil has very few lines.
I know, but the thing is, I think he had more than you think, because there were a lot of moments when just somebody would get off like a joke or something, and it would be Phil, but you couldn't really tell because they were walking around. And at this point, I wasn't sure that his name was Phil yet. I was still working out all of their names, but I was keeping an eye on Phil. But Phil is very frightened by what he sees, rightly so. Phil always reacts appropriately to the things that they come across.
Yeah, I mean, so next they come across this cabin.
Yes.
Now, would you have gone into that?
There's no way in hell you could have induced me to go into that fucking cabin. It's raining. They're like, we have to get out of the rain and into shelter. You got tents, boys. You just keep walking until you have a wide berth between you and that goddamn motherfucking cabin, and they go into the cabin.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, it's like, maybe someone lives there. You can't just go into a cabin.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Breaking and entering.
I thought this was going to be, at first, a Hills Have Eyes situation, and there were going to be very scary hillbillies
Oh,
chasing
I hate hillbillies.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, not in real life.
No,
I hate
as movie villains.
Movie villains. American Horror Story had the hillbilly thing. No bueno. I didn't like it. I don't like any of that. What's that?
Oh, Deliverance.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, no, scary. No. But no hillbillies are here at this time, although they do find a gun rack and some other stuff.
And
what do they find upstairs?
What can only be described as a scarecrow demon, haywire, chicken foot monster beast.
It's like a straw figure, like an effigy of a human, but it's made of straw.
How dare you say the word effigy after that description that I just gave?
It's not an effigy of a human because it's much more terrifying and it does have chicken feet.
God. I said straw monster beast chicken footed.
I'm just trying to get a picture.
Effigy of a human. But
whatever.
I did like that. I'm pretty sure Phil or somebody said, this is the house we get murdered in.
Yes, Phil did say that. And I'm telling you, here's the thing I liked about this movie is people generally were reacting the way that you should react in these situations. Like, even though it was dramatic irony and we knew certainly that they were going to be probably murdered at some point, you would still say that, like, that's exactly what I would say if I were in a house
I
like
say that regularly.
I say that all the time, and luckily it has yet to come to fruition. But Phil, I think, was the greatest voice of just the everyman, which was, again, why I loved him.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, again, the Blair Witch vibes were strong.
Yeah, with the straw shit and the symbols hanging from the cabin. I mean, it basically was like the cabin from the end of the Blair Witch Project is where they were. But they decide to sleep there instead of just standing in a corner. So they go to sleep. And they all have really fucked up dreams. We only see Luke's, but Luke is in the liquor store, back in the liquor store, and, just sort of reliving that trauma. And he wakes up, and when he wakes up, he has, like, puncture wounds in his chest.
Yes. There's a number of sort of flashbacky type scenes, and I thought they were freaking awesome. I thought it was so cool to see the store kind of come to life in the woods. I thought it was so
it's
cool.
Sort of blended sets everywhere.
Yeah, and this nightmare scene was just crazy. It was so freaky to see 4 grown men just losing their shit.
Screaming. They all have horrible nightmares. Hutch, who is the sexy leader of the group, actually pees himself, which, another thing, an appropriate reaction to this sort of situation that you rarely see in movies. Dom wakes up screaming his wife's name. Where's Phil? Where's my sweet Phil? Nowhere to be found. He's upstairs, naked, praying to the fucking straw chicken foot monster. Haywire
monster beast. That was terrible.
It was really scary.
And also his friend being like, Phil, what you doing, mate? And then he doesn't answer, and he's like, come on, get up. And
I was like, have we lost Phil?
Well, also, I'll just add that Dom's knee was fucked.
It looked really gross.
It looked really bad, and I was like, because throughout I was like, oh, Dom. I was with them. They were like, oh, Dom, always complaining with the knee.
Yeah, fucking Dom.
His knee was busted. I was like, Dom was kind of a sport.
He was, They were being pretty mean to him.
I would have laid my ass down on that mountain and
just
died.
Take me, Swedish hillbillies,
or
whatever.
Take me, chicken foot.
Okay, so after this fuckery, they decide, they leave, of course. They get out, they run away. Phil, the voice of reason, is like, does anybody want to talk about how fucked up that was? And they're like, no, it's good. Let's just not dwell on it. It's nothing, not a big deal. So they continue to walk. What happens next? What's the next thing that happens?
Well, Dom insists that they take the walking route.
Oh, what a dumbass. Yeah, he wants to take a path instead of the shorter cut through because it's man-made. His whole thing is, it's man-made, so it's closer to civilization. You were just in a fucking man-made structure, and you had crazy nightmares.
Yeah, you know what
and
else
there's
was
a chicken
man-made?
Foot monster.
That chicken foot monster. That was man-made.
Exactly.
All that shit hanging from the ceiling. Man-made.
Also man-made. So poor choice on Dom's part, but they go through the woods.
I'm just gonna say, I am not good in the woods.
No.
I would be doming all over the place.
Oh, absolutely. We're all dom.
A million times. We are all dom.
We're a dom-Phil amalgamation. Yeah. Well, you can do more dom if you want. I'm holding on to Phil. And so then
Dom takes a break. He wants to take a break, and Luke goes to the top of the ridge.
Uh-huh.
Da fuck. There's between the trees a creature of some sort.
Yeah.
And initially, I thought it was something similar to the tree people from The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, an ent.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. Let's come back to that comparison.
Help you.
There's that would be a departure. It's good. Treebeard, yeah. That would have been a nice surprise for them if Treebeard came out and helped them. But it's not Treebeard. It's some other menacing creature.
And wasn't it just its hand?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Do you remember this?
It was very disoriented
its hand
visually.
around the thing, and you just saw it like
Oh,
unfurl.
yeah. Oh, it has a gross hand. So we'll get into what this creature looks like.
There's a lot more to go.
But there's something in the woods, something big. And so he runs down and he's like, fuck, there's something in the woods. Look at my puncture wounds in my chest. We gotta go. We gotta run. Yeah. Well, and Dom throws down. Dom has had enough.
Yeah.
And he decides now is the time to bring up the unfortunate situation of Luke not fighting for his friend Robert the night that Robert was killed. They have a screaming fight. I actually thought this was a really sad scene. There's a part where Luke, when he learns that Dom does sort of blame him for this death, he says, "You're not my friend anymore. You're not my friend anymore." It was such a childish, vulnerable thing to say, but it was so raw and exactly the thing you would say.
Just hearing you say that out loud is so sad. You're not my friend anymore.
It made me so sad. Aww. So, yeah, this was a pretty emotional movie.
I'm like getting a little weirdly teary
at
that thought.
It was really sad. And he sort of storms off, forgetting about the tree creature. And
yeah, does he even tell them?
He does tell them, but that's what he tells them, and Dom doesn't believe him. He says, "I don't trust your judgment," and then they go into the whole fight. And then Hutch, this is the killer, because Hutch earlier had said to him reassuringly, "Hey, I don't care what anyone says, it wasn't your fault." And Luke says to Hutch, "Do you think it was my fault?" And Hutch says, "I don't know." In this scene. So it's very sad because Hutch is the emotional sort of anchor, the one that takes care of everybody.
He's so sensible. And I remember he says something like, people fall out in these crazy situations like this. You know, it'll be fine or whatever.
We've got to stick together. Yeah. I will say most of the time he's pretty sensible. He is correct about the direction they need to go. But he is pretty cavalier about that fucking cabin at the beginning. He's like, no big deal, let's go in the cabin. He learns, I think, by the end. Is the next thing the next night? Yeah. Is that the next scene? So they make camp again. Oh, at this point, Hutch resolves with Luke that he's the strongest one because poor Phil has worn the wrong shoes and they've fucked up his feet. Another reason I identify with Phil, because that's a mistake I've made many times.
That's so funny, because at the beginning he's like, they're memory foam or whatever, and they're like, you still should have broken them in, dude.
He's like, these are the wrong shoes. Yeah, so Phil can't walk because of his shoes. Dom's knee is busted, as we have said. So Hutch is like, you should go ahead and get help, which I think it was an interesting, subtle interaction because it was the right call probably, but Luke seems really kind of suspicious and hurt by it, and I think Hutch is probably trying to remove this source of tension from the group as well because he can tell that they're not getting along. So it's really sad. But then it gets even fucking sadder.
Yes. Well, they go to sleep, right, in their tents. And the only thing I was thinking was maybe you could put aside the straight male bullshit and sleep in the same fucking tent with each other.
Up.
They slept in 4 separate tents. I would have been inside your body had any of this happened.
So then Luke has another fucked up liquor store dream, which he wakes up from to horrific screaming from Phil. Phil is a good screamer.
No, Hutch.
Oh, yeah, but I thought that Phil was screaming too.
Oh,
no?
Maybe.
Oh, maybe it was Hutch. Well, that would make a lot more sense because Hutch has been abducted by a mystery creature. I'll have to look at the
subtitles.
Yeah, I will too.
Because the subtitles said, like, I remember
Phil screaming, Dom screaming.
Yeah.
A lot of screaming.
And then when Hutch is really screaming, like really terror screaming, it was Hutch screaming. And I was like, oh no, that's awful to listen to as well.
The sound design of this movie, really scary and really good. Yeah. A lot of very eerie sounds.
Oh, and like, drum music.
Music that's sort of just ambient creepishness. But anyway, so fucking Hutch has been abducted. And I don't know why I said fucking Hutch. It's not his fault at all. But he is abducted. And this part made me angry because Luke wants to go after him. And he's traipsing through the woods. And Dom's like, Luke, we got to go back to the tents. We're going to get lost. And Luke's like, what are you talking about? He's screaming. We have to help him. Dom's like, no, we're going to get lost. We have to go back to the tents. And then we can come back for him. Dom, did you not just call him a fucking coward for not intervening in the middle of this robbery? This is not like a structural flaw of the script. I think it's intentional. But it just made me that much angrier at Dom.
But that's actually a really good part of the script that people in tense situations look out for number one.
Do not know how you're going to act.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true. So, very sadly, the next day,
Hutch.
they come upon Hutch.
Sexy Hutch.
Sexy Hutch is no longer sexy because he's been gutted like the elk and is hanging from a tree. Their reactions to finding him are incredibly realistic. I mean, I don't know. I've never, thankfully, been in that situation. Mm-hmm. But a lot of really just, like, guttural sounds.
You've never been in that situation?
What, doesn't that happen to everybody?
Yeah, right?
It's really,
like
really, really
Tuesday
sad. We lost another one to the trees.
It's so sad. And then they
really
get
sad.
him down somehow.
Yeah, and
I'm glad we didn't have to go through that.
They bury him with sticks.
That reminds me of, like, this is so random, but when I used to watch Dexter, did you ever watch Dexter?
Yeah, I watched it almost all the way through.
I used to be so grateful that we didn't have to watch him clean up the scenes.
Yeah, it would have been boring and gross.
Boring. I was like, I don't want to watch him take down all that plastic wrap. Like, I literally would be so grateful for it. I'd be like, I hate cleaning. I don't want to watch Dexter clean.
Do you think he had podcasts to listen to while he did it?
My Favorite Murder, undoubtedly.
Well, it didn't exist yet when that show was on. Sadly.
In my magical world, it did. But so I was glad that we didn't have to watch them try and get him down.
I agree.
From the tree.
It would have been too much.
Even though they probably wouldn't have been able to, but I suspended my disbelief.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well,
how the fuck did they get him down from that tree?
I think Phil rallied his poor feet and helped.
You
Luke.
think Phil climbed that tree?
Yes, I do, to get his friend down.
And what, just, like, cut the body down and it flew to the ground and Dom caught it at the bottom?
Well, I'm thinking Luke and Phil worked together. I don't know how they did it.
I don't think they did.
Anyway, they get the body down, they bury it with sticks. It's really sad.
Oh my god, wait, I have to tell you what my notes are.
What?
Poor Dom, that knee. And then immediately one line after, Dom sucks.
Dom sucks.
I don't know what that's about, but poor Dom, that knee, Dom sucks.
We forgot one thing, which I don't know, maybe we'll cut this, it's not that important, but before Hutch is killed, they do come across a tent in the woods with a wallet with a picture of a family and a credit card from 1984 in it.
I forgot
So we see that people have gone missing in the woods. And Hutch is all like, well, it's fine. We're not going to be like these people. We're really near the path. We're not in a place where people don't come. And it's like, well, wasn't there a path here when these people got killed? But I understand he's just trying to hold it together, even though it's bullshit.
I mean, that's a really cool line, though. Like, we're not these people.
Yeah, you are, though.
Cut to hanging from a tree. Friends cutting you down.
R.I.P. bury you with sticks.
So they're walking. They bury Hutch. They're walking. Luke says shush, which I thought was cute. He said the word shush.
Aww.
Then someone says, it's 3 of us and 1 of it.
Oh, yeah, Luke. He's got a knife.
Yeah, but I was also like, how do you know it's 1 of it?
Good question.
Yeah. Well, I guess
also,
it was,
like,
but...
there were 4 of you last night, and now there's only 3
seriously.
of you,
So they come upon a little river.
Yeah.
Because they drink from it.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was a big mistake, because if there's anything worse than, like, a tree monster, it's diarrhea.
Being chased by a tree monster with diarrhea.
And you... That would be awful. Oh, it would be so embarrassing.
Well,
oh my god! What if you had to run for your life with diarrhea? Like,
I think about that sometimes when
do.
not with diarrhea, but if I really have to pee and something scares me, I'm like, oh my god, I can't be attacked right now. I have to pee too bad. I'll be like, Hutch. Like if I'm in my bed and I have to pee and I hear a sound.
Right now. I have to pee too bad. Oh my god, I've literally never thought of that.
Oh, I think about it.
I'm gonna think about that a lot now.
Digression. There's a really scary scene in the book version of Stephen King's It where Beverly is hiding from the scary psycho bullies and she really, really, really has to pee. And the tension of the scene is just increased tenfold. And you understand what's gonna happen if they find her and it ain't good. And I don't know. There's something about just, like, all she can think about, even though she's terrified, is just how bad she has to pee.
Oh, no.
And it's like, if you've ever really had to pee, you know what that feels like.
Feeling.
It just really adds to the scariness of the scene in an interesting way. Props, Stephen King.
Yeah.
Going back to this film that has nothing to do with him.
So, I feel like they just keep seeing, I don't know, they see buckets.
Did we even get to what they see when they're in the river? They see mud footprints of a human. Did you say that? I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Well, they see footprints and Dom's like, see, it's not a creature, it's fucking humans.
Hillbillies.
It's Swedish hillbillies. So they keep walking. They're going up this hill. Poor Phil is really at the end of his rope here because he's the one, if you'll recall, who was caught praying in front of the chicken foot monster. And he's like, it's in my head. It won't get out of my head. But they get to the top of this ridge, and praise be, Luke realizes they're very near the end. But the sun is going down. All of a sudden, more screaming. My sweet baby Phil, my precious love, has been taken by the creature.
And we left with fucking Dom.
We're left with fucking Dom.
That was annoying, actually.
Well, it makes sense structurally because first we lose Hutch, who's sort of the glue of the group, the emotional anchor. So then we're left with these three, like, freaking out dudes. Then we lose Phil, and now we've already had this huge confrontation between Dom and Luke, so it makes sense dramatically why they would be the two left.
I know. Luke and Dom are like they have the most to work out, and
but fucking Dom.
Luke has to like redeem himself, and then
Dom.
There's another nightmare, right? A little one. There's like a flashback, I guess, but it's short.
No, there's not because they run.
Yeah.
After this, they're like, fuck, Phil's gone, we have to run.
It's when Luke runs into the tree and like knocks himself out for a second.
You're right. He's looking for Phil and he runs smack into a tree.
Yeah, which I was like, selfie.
But he has another like liquor store dream.
Yeah.
He wakes up. This is actually really sweet. He finds Dom alive and he's like, "You're alive, you're alive, you're alive." And it's the sweetest thing because he's so happy.
I do want to be your friend.
Yeah, you are my friend.
So then they're together and Luke says, "I found a way out," which I was like, "You did? When? Did you really?" I was like, "What?" And then I thought this was a cute moment when they were like, 1, 2, 3. And then they both just sit there when they're gonna run, and then they run. I thought that was cute.
It's cute and also very tense. So it really walks a line throughout this movie, which is cool.
And then they see Phil, right? In a tree.
And then they see poor Phil, and he's gone the way of Hutch and the elk.
Yeah.
Which was hard for me.
And they're on a path, and it's not a good-looking path.
No,
There's a lot of skulls. And then they go into the cabin.
There's another goddamn cabin.
Which they run into.
Yes.
That's the thing, because there's fires burning on the path.
Right.
And so they follow this path, like run through this path with all these animal skulls.
Yeah.
And run right into that cabin as if that looks like safety. That looks like something you should run away from.
Well, you've already had one bad experience with a cabin on this trip. How many cabins are in this forest?
Worse.
Yes, it does.
At least 3.
And it is. Yeah, at least 3.
So then they fall into the cabin or something, and then there were the feet, which I thought was really cool.
It was a really scary upside down shot of some feet.
So scary.
Yeah.
Really
very disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
And the feet kick Luke in the head, and he wakes up, and he and Dom are tied up. Surprise! There are actually Swedish hillbillies.
Yeah, okay. I have to tell you, this is the part where the movie took a turn for me.
Me as well.
It jumped the shark, I
Actually,
think.
can I tell you, at the moment when right before the creature took Phil, my dinner, which had been cooking in the oven, finished. And so I did pause it to eat my dinner and watch the Golden Girls because I didn't want to eat my dinner while I watched this movie.
You don't want to see a disemboweled
I
Phil while you eat your dinner.
I wouldn't be able to eat if I knew Phil had gone that way. Yeah. So I ate with Phil still in my heart at that time, and I watched the Golden Girls. And when I came back, I had lost, I think part of it, I think you're correct, the movie does go off the rails. And I also had sort of lost my steam and momentum and tension because I'd stopped. But you're right, the movie gets a little cray. Some stuff is introduced.
I'm telling you, I just hate hillbillies. And I also, here's the thing, I don't like when there's more than one antagonist or villain in a horror movie. Like, I don't like when there's a creature and then also humans that you need to combat. You should have one or the other.
Well, it's like in Spider-Man when they couldn't decide if Venom or the Sandman or James Franco was the villain in the third Spider-Man. Too many... Callie's blinking at me with dead eyes.
I actually did see that.
Too many villains in a movie.
Too many villains.
Too many villains.
No.
So, yeah, I agree. I was all, like, ready to be scared by a creature, and it's these Swedes who are pretty scary.
Also, don't be rude about Swedes.
I'm not being rude about them.
Not you, this movie.
Oh, I think they were being rude about mountain people, which maybe you also shouldn't be rude about.
Well, I was like, Swedes aren't scary, okay?
They're not. This is what I'm saying. I don't think of Sweden as a scary place, but the woods are scary, so in Sweden, I guess. Yeah, so they're captive with these Swedes. The Swedes show up. We learn that the old lady
has
Swedish
her puncture wounds
on her chest. She gives Luke a nice drink of water, and they take Dom upstairs and do some fucked up shit to him.
Not to skip ahead, but do you think that puncture wound means like he's chosen to be
I think, it's some kind of mark that suggests you are going to be a worshiper and not a victim. Yes. So she has these same puncture wounds. They take Dom away, and we hear some it was really hard to listen to.
Yeah, the screaming was bad.
It's unclear what they're doing to him. He comes back, and he looks real beat up, but it seems like they had to be doing something worse than just hitting him from those screams.
Something in his butt.
I hope not. Well, he came back. They were doing something to him. He does come back, and it's really sad. Luke is just sort of like,
I was surprised to see him back.
I know, me too. He comes back and he says, Luke, are you okay? And Dom's like, let me tell you about what my dream was about. We learned that Dom, his nightmare was about being handed over by these Swedes to this demon with its dead hands, and that he saw his wife, and that's why he was screaming his wife's name. And up until this point, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to get out together. It's going to be his redemption is to save Dom, who was giving him shit. Well, this speech made me think differently, because what he says is, I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die. What I need you to do is get out of here and live and burn this place to the ground and tell my wife that I love her and just live your life. And it's really sad. Luke's like, I can't lose all of you. Stop. I'm not going to have to do that. This is a very well acted movie. I was like, which I think is, for a horror movie, sometimes acting is not the number one priority. Yeah. And I thought all these guys did a really tremendous job.
I do too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So at this point, I'm like, fuck, Dom is definitely going to die, because the speech loses all meaning if he lives.
I thought Luke would save him.
I wanted it to happen, but it just didn't seem... I thought maybe for a second that it would, but it didn't.
Yeah.
The Swedes take him out, they tie him up to this pole, and the creature comes.
Also, Luke breaks his own thumb.
I know. So Luke is straining, he's tied up to this post, and Luke is straining it out. He 7 hours himself, and he breaks his own thumb to get out of his ties, but it's too late. The monster comes first in the form of poor Dom's beautiful wife, then turns into the monster and gets him.
I thought the wife part was awesome.
I did too. It was really sad to me.
Sad.
Yeah. It just made the kill feel like something more than just slaughter. You know, It felt really emotional. And we knew this character very well at this point. Yeah. So it was really sad.
It was sad.
And he's sitting there and he's waiting for the monster to come, and he just starts saying, like, fucking hell, you stupid pricks. Yeah. Like, he starts just swearing at them, and I was like, yeah, that's also an appropriate response in this situation.
Yeah. I mean, okay, one negative part is that I don't like when horror movies save the violence until the end. A lot of the violence had happened off camera up to this point, and I actually thought it was really effective because you hear the gut-wrenching screams, and it's almost more worrisome or traumatic because you're filling in the gaps. Like here I am thinking Dom's getting a chicken foot up the butt, and you know, so I don't want to see what's happening. I don't like to see the thumb breaking, like, too much.
Yeah, it was a lot. And it was
much. And like Dom impaled on that tree.
Yeah, it was weird. It killed him somewhat differently than it killed the other guys. It seemed like it just sort of gave him a little stabby stab. Boop.
Like a scorpion.
Yeah. It wasn't nice. Oh, we also see the monster for the first time.
Yeah, we need to talk about this monster.
Oh, God. So we've been calling it a tree monster. It literally is a giant tree with hands. Like, its face is a tree.
It is?
No? I don't know. It looked like a tree to me, and it has a human hand.
It kind of looked like the Grim Reaper with a tiny head. Oh. And weird hands, and also like a spider.
Well, we eventually see it from afar, and we see it in its fullness, and it looks like a giraffe mixed with a buffalo, mixed with an elephant, but instead of tusks, it has human hands. And it's, so I think disgusting. Its face looks like the hollow of a tree to me.
Oh, okay.
But maybe not. I couldn't tell. It was weird. It wasn't a particularly...
Looked like a Jim Henson something. Like, this could have been in the labyrinth.
It's really difficult in a creature movie, especially when you're not seeing the creature for most of the movie, that when you finally do, I think it's a really tough thing to land. And not a lot of movies do it. Alien is a movie that does it, but you're seeing the creature all the way through in Alien generally. I
can't think of a movie that is like a great example of that.
It's really hard to do.
The Village was pretty good with that.
I haven't seen The Village. It has a real monster at the end. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well, no, I won't tell you what it has.
Yeah, I feel like I know the twist, which is not. But Yeah, I mean, this is why I tend to go for ghost movies and murderer movies over creature movies, because I think it's really hard to nail the design, especially now in our age of CGI. I think the great thing about Alien is that movie is all practical effects, and movies like The Thing, you're seeing sort of monsters throughout that, because they're all practical, so it feels really physical and visceral, even if it's sort of ridiculous looking. It just, there's nothing really tangible about this animal, and it just doesn't look scary to me.
And its hands are just weird.
It's weird without being particularly scary.
Then we learn from this one of the spades that his name is Juton.
Oh, that's right. I didn't write his name. He's a Nordic god.
He's an offspring of Loki. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I literally was like, we're done here. Yeah. Goodbye now, because I'm not into any of that, like, mythic shit. No. It's a god. Like, I can't. Goodbye.
Just make it a weird animal that lives in the woods. Make it like Bigfoot. I don't know. We find out that these people worship this creature because it makes them live forever. Yeah. And takes away their pain. And Luke is like, why me then? And she's like, well, it's because you have so much pain. And he's like, I'm not signing up for this shit. This is weird. And she's like, well, then you're going to hang out in the trees.
Did she really say you're going to hang out in the
trees? She says, then you'll be in the trees.
Oh.
Yeah. Or something to that.
I was like, I would have liked that.
No.
Okay, then you can just hang out in the trees. And also, like, hang out in the trees. Like, that would be your funny. Guts hanging out.
I should have been the script doctor for but yeah.
It would have been like, cut the last 100 pages where you start showing the creature.
Please just make them all be. It doesn't matter.
So then he sets the motherfucking cabin on fire.
And he burns it all to the ground. He goes up to this attic, and there are these weird mummy creatures that are moving slowly that we've been hearing growling. Oh, I guess that's where Dom was previously. He was up there with those mummy creatures. So maybe that's why he was screaming. Oh, really? More out of, like, being scared. Because they take him upstairs, and we hear him through the ceiling. He might have just been scared by these creatures that are similar to the seaweed monsters from Ursula's den.
Yeah, what the fuck? So what were they?
He burns them. I don't know. They look dumb. He burns them. He punches the old Swedish lady in the face, which was funny. And
wait, and when he's burning them, I'm pretty sure, it says, the subtitle said, snarling in ancient language.
Oh, yeah. And also the creature speaks in an ancient language, according to the subtitles. It sounded just like growling to me. I don't know about that. So this pisses the creature off. It kills one of the Swedes out of anger and drops her eyeless body in front of the door. Yeah. Luke is wandering around. He shoots a guy with a shotgun, which I enjoyed. He said, fuck off to that guy, which is an appropriate thing to say.
Yeah, I did like that too.
Yeah, like nothing cool, just like fuck off.
Yeah.
And then he steals an axe from another of the Swedes, which is important. And he runs away, and this is when we see the creature, which we've unpacked the creature. Not our favorite part.
Yeah, I want to pack it back up. I don't like it.
Yeah, let's put a bow on that. So he's running through the woods, and he's running through this is cool.
Okay, no, but then the creature is standing there with that lady. Yes. He's like, his attention is on the lady. Yeah. And Dum Dum shoots a gun at him. I was like, yeah, it's a god.
He's mad, he wants to shoot it. But maybe he didn't believe it was a god. Like, if I was kidnapped by some hillbillies and they were like, there's this god, I would be like Scully. I would be like, no, it's not a god. It's like Bigfoot, or it's some crazy, like, genetic mutant.
Yeah,
it's not
but
a god.
He just should have kept running. The thing wasn't paying any attention to him.
But he promised Dom that he was going to shut this shit down.
Okay.
So, maybe that was why. But I agree. I was like, why? Another poor decision. But anyway, so he shoots him. The thing starts chasing him. He's running through the woods, and he ends up running through this wooded hallway that is also
I thought that was
fluorescent
so
lights.
Cool.
Yeah, of the liquor store. He's back in the liquor store. He sees his friend getting killed. He comes out the other side. The creature knocks him down. Then there's a protracted fight with the creature that's not a lot happens in it, but takes a really long time. I'm like, why is the creature not just killing him? It forces his head down.
It wants him to pray to him.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was doing, because it rears up on its head. Oh, that makes more sense to me now. Okay.
I didn't like it. Well, I got it, but I didn't like it.
It rears up, and he hits it with the axe, this dinky little axe, and this Nordic god is suddenly like, oh no, ow, and it runs away from him.
Ancient language.
And he runs out of the forest, and he stands in this clearing, and you can hear the creature, and he starts roaring back at it. Which is pretty emotional.
Yeah,
but
guess.
Also
I didn't like that roar. I was like, keep it moving, brother.
Moving. Yeah.
You're out of there.
Get out of there. And then we see him walking through the mountain.
That Taylor Swift song, Are We Out of the Woods Yet, starts playing.
No, it didn't. Are you serious? Okay.
I started singing it.
I missed that. Yeah, so he's on the mountains, which the mountains are very beautiful, and he's escaped with his life. And then he's just determinedly walking. Roll credits.
Roll credits.
Yeah.
Weak.
Guys, here's the thing. I was so into this movie for so much of it.
Right.
And, wow, this ending really let me down. I gotta say.
Weak sauce.
Weak sauce.
Okay, let's rewrite it. What would we have rather happened?
I would want to be... This movie's very bleak. My preference would have been for him to be redeemed by sacrificing himself or even just saving one of probably them. Dom would make the most sense narratively, but any of them.
Yeah.
To live besides him or with him.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, once again, he's the fucking guy with survivor's guilt.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, he's going to go home now and all 5 of his friends are dead.
Right, and he has to go to each of their wives and be like, sorry. that I'm alive and they're all dead. After fucking Robert, the same thing already you know what I mean?
Also, like, imagine he has to be like, sorry, there was a creature made of wood and hands who was a descendant of Loki, and they're gonna be like, so you killed my husband in the woods.
That's exactly what my response would be. Poor Gale. Poor everybody. It's Gale's the only one we see in hallucination form. Yeah, it's really a dark ending. So that my preference would have been that he saved one of them. What would your preference have been? Preferably Phil for me. But... I
mean, preferably no hillbillies.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. Just a creature.
And just a creature. And yeah, that he would have saved, I guess, Dom.
I guess.
I would have liked, okay, if I have to really rewrite this baby, I would have Hutch goes missing.
Yeah.
You don't see his body in the tree. He's missing. Phil goes missing. Dom gets killed. Phil gets killed. Sorry, Phil. Sacrifice Phil.
Phil can go.
And Luke saves Hutch. And they make out.
Well, now we're talking. I would have liked Phil and Hutch to make out, but that's fine because they were my 2 favorites physically. But yeah, I think that would have been more satisfying than this. Certainly. Yeah. Anything to redeem him.
Here's
more
the thing, like,
and
I
not
felt
be so
like
sad.
I really liked the setup of tension between these guys, and also, you know, I felt like before they introduced this Loki bullshit, it was like, is there something in the woods, or is it just their simmering resentment?
Right,
like,
is it like a Babadook situation?
Yeah, like, I feel like that could have been like a really interesting route to take. You know, is it just stuff between them? Yeah, right. And like, how are they going to deal with it? And...
Right. Or honestly, alternatively, if it had only been hillbillies and there was no creature, I tend to prefer real world explanations because I find them scarier generally. Yeah. But you know, just picking one side would have been better, whichever side that was.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5 stars?
All right, so we're doing stars, which is quality of the film, scream emojis, which is scariness of the film. This is really hard for me because I was thinking, is this going to be a 5-star movie? Up until the moment when we both say it kind of started to go off the rails. So I'm still going to give it 4 because I think it's a really emotional, well-acted, beautifully shot movie that was really fresh to me. The ending really, they did not stick the landing for me at all. So that is going to prevent me from going a full 5.
Yep.
Scariness-wise, I'll give it a 3 because I thought it was really tense and frightening, again, up until the end when it supposedly was getting scarier, but it just sort of became upsetting and wasn't really scary because the monster wasn't frightening to me.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I give it 3 stars. It was 4 until the cabin people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like them. Mm-hmm. Don't care for them. And 3 ghost faces. That was pretty scary.
We're aligned on the ghosts.
Scary. It had jump scares for it. Like the jump scares were not plentiful, but they were good. Starting with the machete to the face.
Well, the woman that was hiding in the corner.
Yep.
Was really scary.
Like, I literally kept being like, fuck!
Yeah.
Every time something crazy would happen.
Were you watching this with Simon, with your boyfriend?
Yes.
How did he respond to it as a British man?
Simon really glazes over a lot of the time. The other day, we were watching The Top Chef, and I literally left the room for 2 minutes, and I came back, and I was like, what did I miss? And he goes, oh, you know I can't answer that. He's just like a totally passive viewer. So he was watching this, and I kept pausing it and rewinding it and pausing it and rewinding it, and eventually I was like, am I driving you crazy? And he was just sort of like, yes, but he hadn't said anything up until that point.
Well,
I think he left before the cabin people.
Oh, well, that's probably
he's more
for the
of
best.
A Phil
Well, there you go, Callie.
Yeah, he's more of a Phil.
I'm telling you, Phil is
Just
all of
go
us.
with the flow till you
Phil
end up praying to a chicken.
Most... Okay, we're done talking about Phil. It's getting weird how much I love him.
Has that actor ever been in anything else?
I don't know who he is. I was just like, who's this? He's attractive. I'm gonna look it up and then I'm gonna stalk him. But I was like, oh, what a cutie. And then when he just kept saying everything I was thinking and feeling, I was so like, funny. Oh, Phil.
What next?
Here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I've never seen The Strangers, and we'll get in, when we talk about it, we'll get into why, because there are reasons why I've not seen it. Yeah.
I want to know.
Well, we'll talk about it next week. We're going to watch The Strangers, and then following that, we're going to watch the new Strangers movie, which is called Strangers Pray at Night.
Pray at Night.
Yes. Pray, Prey.
Yes.
But good title, probably.
Also, like, I saw a trailer for The Strangers Pray at Night.
Yes.
And they call it The Strangers.
Is it a reboot?
I don't think so.
Or is it the same
but I
people?
think they're really counting on the brand equity of The Strangers. And so they're leaning so far into that, and they're not calling it The Strangers 2 or,
right.
You know, and they're on the posters. Pray at Night is so tiny.
That's true, actually.
Else.
It looks kind of scary. We're gonna watch both of them and we're gonna talk about them.
I know, we can't talk about it too much, but I will just say that the bar is high because The Strangers is good.
I'm excited
really
to watch
good.
it. I'm scared and excited to watch it.
I'm afraid Pray at Night is going to be less than good.
Really?
Mainly because, what's her name? Christina Hendricks.
Uh-huh.
Can she carry a scary movie?
I don't know, but I love her. And I'm a pretty straight woman, and she is on my list. She's just very beautiful.
Infinitely Joan from Mad Men to me.
I never watched Mad Men. I only know her from Firefly. So, she's very sexy on Firefly. But anyway, okay, so that's our plan. So watch The Strangers and then watch The Strangers Pray at Night.
Yes.
We'll do a new movie.
A brand new movie. That's exciting.
Spanking new. We're not going to be able to take notes. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, weird.
I know. Okay, one more thing. Any trailers you're excited about? Oh, I do want to say we talked last week about a trailer that I'm very excited about, the John Krasinski, Emily Blunt film. I could not remember the name of it. The name is A Quiet Place.
Quiet Place.
Yes, so just
Which
putting
kind of
that out there.
Sounds like On Golden Pond.
It does.
Until you see the trailer.
So don't judge it on the title.
Have I seen any trailers I'm excited about besides Strangers Pray at Night?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I saw this trailer. I don't know if this counts as a horror movie. I think not. But it's called Thoroughbreds. And it's kind of like Heathers.
Yes.
Yeah, these teen girls, one of them's sort of a sociopath, and the other one's just sad, and they conspire to murder the one girl's shitty stepdad.
Yes.
And it looks really funny and weird.
I did see that trailer as well.
All right. Well, we have some stuff to do. I mean, do watch this movie. I think it is worth it. Well, I hope you've watched it by now because we fucking talked about it.
Yeah, watch it. It's worth it.
It's worth it. Tell people to watch it.
That's it.
That's all we got this week.
That's the end of episode 2.
Watch The Strangers.
Yes, watch The Strangers, get Movie Pass, and then go see The Strangers Pray at Night.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.